Okay, welcome to Module 1, the Learning Objectives, Outcome and Methodology. It is so critically important to have a very solid foundation in how you're going to learn. Because without that solid foundation of your learning process, then you will have an inability to record the price ladder patterns that we're training you on, and not only the ones that we're training you on, because they're just a foundation to start from, but the ability for you to develop yourself as your own unique order flow price ladder trader. Because a very solid foundation, a very solid method of providing yourself a feedback in your learning really solidifies how to recall patterns and therefore deploy the right price ladder trading strategies to optimize your risk versus reward management in executing your trades. And what's so important is the cognitive ability for you to recall patterns that you have learned and how to deploy them as quickly as possible when you're faced and you're trading in the financial market landscape. Okay, so the structure of the slide. So in slide 3, we really state the objectives and the mission. In slide 4, we look at really the methodology that we'll be employing throughout the entire duration of the course in order to optimize your learning. And then slide 5 to 8 is the module structure and how we attack every single module, specifically in the areas where we train you on the various price ladder patterns and the order flow patterns and how to observe the various different market environments to deploy the right strategy. And then really then slide 9, we focus on the community learning aspect, and really like it is on a trading floor where we've throughout the last 12 years of me being on a trading floor is really seeing that the accelerated learning, because you have a group of people with the right stated intention of wanting to develop, and then there's this accelerated aggressive learning because of the community approach of learning. And that is our last slide that we will be looking at in this module 1 section. Okay, our objective and mission. Well, firstly, our primary objective is to train traders into understanding and developing a solid foundation and skill in trading the depth of market, or otherly known as the price ladder. Without this foundation, you will not have the ability to record patterns, the consistent evolving change in patterns in the price ladder space. And by unable to record those patterns, you're unable to maneuver effectively along the price ladder environment. And the goal and the mission is to develop a global pool of outstanding talent and consistently profitable price ladder traders. Our training program that you are participating in is a training program that we utilize for all of our traders across all of our trading floors across the world. So please take cognizant of the framework that we deploy and how I'll be structuring the methodology for your learning in this course. And really, most importantly, is creating a talent hub of rapid improvement. The markets are always evolving, the markets are always changing, but unless your methodology and framework is solid, you will be left behind. So making sure that the method of how you learn and how you constantly evolve with the market will then result in creating your own personal talent, and we want to organize that talent globally in search of great price ladder traders or developing great price ladder traders. And then finally, most importantly, is building a world-class framework for consistent, dynamic and continuous improvement. Comes more or less on the previous bullet point is, without that solid framework, that solid ability to learn your skills and enhance your skills, you will be left behind. But that's what makes this game such a great challenge. And for those that master it are those who master themselves and they master their own learning, their own learning techniques on how to learn patterns in the marketplace. Okay, the exciting part now, the methodology. Now already, throughout this pictorial representation of the entire learning framework that we'll be deploying in the Axia Futures Price Ladder Training Program, is it really starts from the theory. We look at it from an almost textbook approach of what we're looking at, the reasons behind the patterns. We start the first part of the course by just looking a bit of the theory. Then the next step is looking at the application, and followed by the application of how you actually engage on the price ladder, how you execute your orders, what type of orders you can execute, what type of trading strategies you can execute, why does the price ladder and the environment of the price ladder react under certain conditions. And then after we really engage in that application, well, then you need to practice, because without the practice element, you won't solidify your ability to recall those patterns. By practicing, you really put strong concrete foundation in the theory and the application, because the practice now starts resulting in the communication between your unconscious state and your conscious state. And the moment you build up your unconscious state, your gut intelligence, when you're trading the marketplace, and your instinctual intelligence really starts increasing, where as a trader you don't have to think anymore. You just are having the ability to instinctively react in the most optimal manner in order to deploy the right strategies. And then after that, after you've deployed and after you've practiced, well, then we have to give you the feedback from a professional trading perspective, and the feedback on the trading pattern. And when you get that feedback, you can align any error, any error of your understanding, because you don't want that error count diverging too much from the reality of your execution of your trade. So this entire mechanism, and we'll go through it in each bullet point, as I've mentioned over here, the method we employ in our training protocol is based on a cognitive rapid skill development technique, which is immersed in the following framework that I've just spoken about. And I know that's a fancy word, the cognitive rapid skill development technique, but all that really is saying is, how do you record patterns that you see in the market day in, day out? For a novice trader who's looking at the price ladder, he effectively just sees a whole bunch of moving numbers that don't make sense. A trader who has a very strong framework, has been involved in the market for countless years, when he looks at that ladder, he can see if the marketplace is ripe and ready for him to trade, or the marketplace is not ripe and ready for him to trade. And if it is ripe, what strategy to deploy? What does he actually see on the price ladder? And it's effectively, it's his book. He opens, he reads it, he understands it, he executes it. So really, the cognitive ability is your ability to recall these patterns into your unconscious state. So when you face in the marketplace, you're able to retrieve from your unconscious state to your conscious state. And that really is this holistic method of your ability to execute in the marketplace. And really, it's a rapid skill development protocol in price ladder training. The reason we put this is not to be, it's not to make something complicated. It's to make it incredibly simple. But as long as you have a very strong framework and methodology, and I'll keep on speaking and pouncing on this word of methodology, but as long as you have it, as long as your methodology keeps on improving, well, then your skill levels are going to improve so rapidly. Okay, so let's look. So that entire circle that we looked at, or that entire mechanism, that cognitive rapid skill development protocol that we employ in our learning environment, let's just look at the first element. And that first element of our modular approach is the theoretical framework. Now, we first describe the order flow pattern, or the price ladder pattern. We look at its nuances, its subtleties, and what we're really trying to observe here. Then next, we start accessing the market environment. Now, the market environment is just so critical. This is probably one of the most important parts of being a great price ladder trader, is the moment you sit down at your desk and you start preparing for the day ahead. And then when the market opens up and that bell rings and it's the future session that opens up, do you have that ability to access in a very quick manner what the market environment looks like? And that really follows suit of accessing the volume and the volatility environment. Now, the volume and the volatility environment, which is really a subcomponent of the market environment, and I can compare this to a great cricket player, a great tennis player, Formula One driver is, as an example, if you're a cricketer and you walk onto a pitch in the subcontinent and the ball is spinning around and it's moving, it's those players who are able to adapt to those conditions the quickest and therefore deploy the right technique in order to optimize their performance and make the most amount of runs given the environment they're faced with, are the most effective professional athletes. And it's the same with a trader. The trader that then is faced with this, with all these patterns in the various market or various asset classes, the trader who's able to assess his environment the quickest is the trader who's able to deploy the right strategy. Because not knowing your environment, you won't have the ability to deploy the right strategy. And we'll be looking at this in an entire module section of the environment, because the environment, if it's raining and storming down and you on your Formula One car, well, you're going to be using different tires. You're not going to be using the slick tires. So this section is so important, and it's actually potentially my favorite section of the entire course, is assessing the volume and volatility environment in context to the market environment. And then we look at the potential, and finally we look at the potential reasons for the rise of the pattern. So we really, look at possible reasons. There could be a whole host of reasons, but we just dabble into the potential reasons of why this price ladder pattern could exist. But at the end of the day, as traders, we don't really care for the main reason. We care to observe the pattern and then execute the right strategy to make money in the trade. Okay, then in the next module is building trading strategies, or the next part of the learning process. And then the building the trading strategies really is one of the most exciting parts. We already start looking at how we can execute the trade once we've observed the specific order flow pattern. And so we looked at the method of execution, and you'll see as we go out through each part of the course, we have a very structured approach. And with that structured approach, you can use that exact same approach in your own learning on a daily basis. So we look at the method of execution. Then we look at how we're going to manage the order flow trade. So once we execute the trade, given the specific price ladder pattern that we've seen, how are we going to actually manage the trade once we enter it? What are we looking at? What are we looking at from an order flow environment? What are we looking at from assessing the various volume components that are coming to the market? What are we doing once we enter the trade and the trade changes its dynamics? So really, how the management is so critically important, especially from a self-awareness management of when you enter the trade. Then next, and really one of the most important parts, is the risk and size manipulation. One of the biggest things that I've observed, in my almost 12 years of being on the trading floors, is really seeing that the best traders are the ones who understand how to manipulate their size. And we really look at this in great detail on the course, because a lot of traders who just have a very static, undynamic approach to managing their size don't last in this game very long. Well, if they do last, they don't become the best that they can be as traders, because you can train traders, which direction the markets could potentially go, and you could be right or wrong 50% of the time, but the great traders can be literally right 5 to 10% of the time. But because they know how to manipulate their size at the right time, they're able to execute so incredibly effective, because they are so well skilled in how to manage their size. So this is really important part of when we look at the various order flow patterns. And I really want you to develop that skill set, because it's a skill set that doesn't get spoken about much in the marketplace. And it's a skill set that you can deploy the best when you are a price ladder trader. Okay, now the market rehearsal drills are part of the modular structure approach. Now this is so important, because this is the part where you really start solidifying your learning. By just learning without the practice, you aren't going to create that communication channel between observing and then recording into your unconscious state, in order to, when you faced with a similar pattern, unable to then react from a gut intelligence or instinctual perspective. So this part of the process is really to start recording the patterns into your unconscious state so you can retrieve them very effective in the financial market space. So this is for skill development and rapid pattern recognition protocol. The objective of the course is to give you a framework, to give you strategies and trading and trading methodologies on the price ladder so that you can recall yourself the patterns at such an aggressive manner and in such real time that you are able to react very effectively and very quickly. It's in the skill rehearsal. There is a description in the skill rehearsal. There's a description of the drill and the stated objectives. So already your brain is starting to put this matrix, this framework, and when you have a specific framework in a matrix, you're able to compartmentalize each of the sections in the various areas. So then you're able to retrieve the information effectively to put on the right trades. So we're ready. A framework organizes things in your head, and when you have a very organized structure, you're able to locate the strategy to deploy. So imagine you have a very messy home or a very messy office, and your paperwork is all over the place. When you need something specifically, you need to find out your tax code or your tax papers, or you need to find out when you are seeing a friend next week, but your calendar is lying somewhere scattered on the floor. You aren't able to retrieve that quickly if it's in an unstructured, messy environment. Whereas if you know exactly where you file your calendar, exactly where you file your tax papers, exactly where you file your, whatever it may be, you're able to retrieve it quicker. So you've got to organize your pattern state in your unconscious state in a very well-structured way, because when you're faced with those conditions, you're able to retrieve that information very quickly from your brain because you have this concrete framework. And then the drill rehearsal feedback, which is so important, is there through a process of questions and answers for active knowledge engagement. So really on our learning environment, we really engage you to ensure that what you have learned and what you've developed and the framework you've developed is really solidified through that active feedback mechanism and that active approach to your learning. Okay, now the live trading drills, part of the modular approach. We provide live trading exercises and homework for traders, price ladder development and cognitive development. Now, this section is really where we unleash you in the marketplace. We've solidified your learning in a particular area and a particular section of the training program and of the various order flow patterns, and then we really now go and enhance that practice. So we provide specific drills that are geared just towards that type of order flow pattern and that type of ladder event. And during the week, as you're unleashed in the live market environment, you are there to observe those patterns and learn how to execute them. And this is where you practice those drills. And any parts of the program that you are not as skillful as, well, then it's the exercise that really enhance that ability to engage on those various patterns effectively. We also specify which markets to develop your skills, so we'll be focusing on bond markets, commodity markets, equity markets, and currency products. So this is really encompasses a vast pool of asset classes. And then we provide for all of the specific order flow sections and the order flow patterns that we look at, a pattern development matrix worksheet. And as I mentioned before, when you organize your learning and you have the structured matrix in your head, you're then able to learn the patterns a lot more effectively and therefore deploy the right strategies more effectively. So for every part of the course, we have a specific, really well designed and well structured cognitive worksheet for you to enhance your learning of particular types of price ladder patterns. And then finally, we develop your journalizing skills for pattern inventory development, because we're not only here to provide you a foundation of some concrete patterns of the order flow ladder, but we're also here to develop your own intuitive sense of retrieving markets in the marketplace. And it's all the great thinkers, the great pioneers, or whatever industry that you look at, having a great ability to journalizing their learning process. So we teach you techniques and we're teaching you a method of how you're going to journalize so you always are increasing the patterns in your head to deploy the right strategies inside the marketplace. So community learning is so critically important for me. I've observed such a big difference of seeing traders in an effective, well-shared community trading floor, of how quickly they learn. Traders who are at home having to develop on their own, the learning process is so long. So the whole course is geared around engaging and putting together the strongest, most powerful price ladder learning community, so people can learn amongst each other, observe patterns amongst each other, load up videos of particular types of patterns that they've seen, of how the landscape is changing, of particularly one order flow pattern that worked one week that's not working another week. And it's what we learn on our trading floor, and specifically, the trading floor that I'm mostly at on one of our offices in London, is this wonderful learning environment amongst the traders. And we're talking about traders. We have some traders here who've been only trading for 6 months, with some traders been 15 years, and it's that interaction between where the trader's been here for 15 years is still learning from the guy who's been here for 1 year, where the guy who's been here for 1 year is learning from everyone who's been here 4 plus years. So that enabling that community learning environment is what really accelerates your learning, and the whole learning structure of our program is geared around a sharing of patterns and ladders, so you can all learn together and rapidly enhance your skill set in the price ladder place. And really, it's using the power of social engagement for rapid learning. We've seen the social landscape and how that changes. People who want to learn how to be a musician, just go onto YouTube and learn various different ways. And we really want to enable that social learning and engagement. And just remember, the sum is greater than the parts. That individual approach. Sometimes we have a community spirit. Everything is kind of interconnected, interrelated. So when you learning within an entire community approach, you are going to pick up a lot more things. Rome wasn't built by one man; it was built by a community of people. The same with London. The same with any great empire. It's not the individual; it's the community. So the community is where it's powerful and where it's strong, and then you become a great individual trader. And really, by activating a very defined community learning amongst traders across the globe on the price ladder training program, traders can achieve the same rapid learning result of traders learning in a shared trader floor community. And that's what we're enabling with our technologies, is ensuring, with our learning technology, ensuring that you're not being left behind by not being on a trading floor. So if you're trading from home, wherever, we want to engage that community so you learn, and it's up to you. It's up to you to put yourself out there and learn. Without asking the right questions, without sharing the information, the community starts disintegrating. So just ensure that you also engage yourself, throughout this course, because this course is designed for you to engage yourself. And as long as you follow the course, in sync, it's a course that's been designed to develop our own traders. So if you want to become the best that you can be, just follow the structure of the program in a very community-orientated methodology. And this community learning is activated by sharing order flow setups in the chat room and practicing these patterns consistently as an individual and as a group. And you will not only see your improvement. I mean, I've seen it's phenomenal. As long as you have a great framework and a great methodology coupled with an environment where you can share and bounce ideas off each other, your learning just becomes so accelerated. The great Renaissance painters, the Renaissance time had Michelangelo, Leonardo, but they all had great mentors and oracles. All those particular eras and those talent hub eras, whether it be the Renaissance, whether it be the great Brazilian football teams of the past, whether it be any community, the great Australian cricket side of the 90s or the West Indies of the 80s, they were all great because they were in a community of a shared learning environment. And when you have that very strong team ethos, the individual thrives in that very structured, strong foundational community.